Out of the major retailers, including Target and Macy's and so many more, expected to offer some evidence of an economic recovery later this morning. Just a question of how quick that recovery is taking shape. Reports expected to show the second consecutive monthly gain after more than a year of declines. Chief economists over at the International Council of Shopping Centers expecting to see sales up at least 1%. Already, some retailers like TJ Maxx and J. Crew have raised their profit outlooks. Consumer spending in all accounts for still about 70% of overall economic activity. That's why it's so important. Already out this morning, Costco. Better than expected sales in the month of October. Its same-store sales at stores open at least a year, up by 5%. It's a little bit better than the estimate the analysts had put together. A weak U.S. dollar helping to push up the value of the international sales at Costco. All right, rejoining us to talk retail a little bit is Adam Connors. Adam from CK Cooper. As I said at the top, we're looking to see whether or not we can make any assumptions that the economy is recovering and maybe it's quicker than we thought or not as quick from retail. At the end of the day today, any headlines you think will come out of all these retail numbers?
I think it's actually going to be positive. I mean, all these indications that we're seeing, I mean, the consumer is what's been missing from this equation, and that's what everyone's been concerned about. And that not only from the consumer from a spending standpoint, but as well as a job standpoint. And for these companies to actually be ahead of the curve when it comes to increasing their expectations, I think it's a positive sign, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what some of the other large box chain stores say.
Interesting to hear maybe a better than expected October. If you look at September of last year compared to the September of this year, just a few months ago, we see more than 6 million more people unemployed during that time frame. So joblessness is still very much an issue. Then can you explain the connection? If you see the joblessness, what it is, you get jobless claims today, but then you have retail saying they're doing better than before. How does that work together?
Sure, I know, and it is hard to draw the line to it, and unfortunately I don't have a direct formula to present to you, or else I probably would be going for the Nobel Peace Prize. However, what you do see is that you do see I would say the deadening effect that the consumers are seeing, where everyone's starting to adjust to the actual media out there and starting to move on with their lives, I would say. And so I think that's a very positive standpoint from a sentiment view for the consumer, because they're starting to open up their wallets again, and I think that's what we're starting to see.
What about from an investing point of view? You like retail stocks?
I'm not ready to jump on that limb yet, though, Connell. Sorry.
Why is that? Well, I mean, what's the difference between the outlook being positive and the stocks being buys?
Sure. I would say that if you're gonna go a basket, if you're gonna try to do an index for the big box retailers, I'd be a little more comfortable with that. But as far as picking and choosing which stores, I think there's going to be so much volatility and so much internal strife from the credit issues still lingering with the stores, and that actually picking and choosing a handful of stocks is a pretty risky bet at this point.
All right, Adam Connors, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on all the time, and I know you'll join us next hour on the internet as well. Adam Connors from CK Cooper out in Cleveland today. Jenna.
All right, let's turn now to the Fox Business Agenda. We have a busy morning here on Fox Business. You have initial job as top Democrats in the House make their final rounds on Capitol Hill, trying to gain some more support for this plan. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and fellow top Democrats are targeting other Dems holding out on backing this bill. President Obama himself plans to help the push tomorrow ahead of the House vote, which is expected, we believe, on Saturday. In the meantime, the AARP is expected to give its endorsement of the bill today. This puts the group in a little bit of a difficult situation, though. Many of its members are concerned about cuts in Medicare payments to medical providers. Those cuts would be used to help pay for this expansion of health insurance to millions of Americans without coverage. The Congressional Budget Office, by the way, says this bill will cost more than $1 trillion over the next decade.
All right, we have an instant audit on this. Adam Connors joins us this morning, Director of Corporate Finance at CK Cooper. Adam, good to see you.
Great to see you. How are you?
We're good.
Congratulations on the win.
That's right. It's a big day in New York when the Yankees win, but don't remind me of being a Mets fan. Well, it's all right. Good. We started down this road already. Anyway, healthcare.
I always have to. It's always fun to play with you guys.
Where are we going on this whole thing at this point? Because it looks like, hey, something gets done. It's just a matter of when it gets done. Is that the wrong estimation? Because as people who are investing, you try to get a timetable and make a decision based on that. What kind of decision are you prepared to make?
Sure. Oh, I'm personally prepared to make, huh? Well, it's interesting actually, because what we're seeing is that we're seeing the markets being rather inelastic, and as the drama and all the PR and propaganda of the health bill as it moves forward through the House, and so what you see is that through the bills that are proposed currently, you see quite the difference between each of them. And so what I'm personally concerned is that I don't see this by chance actually passing before Veterans Day, which is all the talk of is right now. And I think it's going to be quite the push to have everything all buttoned up by year end. So I think there's going to be continued uncertainty in the markets until that actually happens.
So talk a little bit more about that timing. How important do you think the timing really is for investors? As we understand it, most have settled their books apparently for this year, but maybe not everybody. So how important is the timing on this bill and how people are positioning themselves for next year?
Sure. Well, obviously, some of these things are going to be a little more sector weighted. As you did mention, half the bill is coming from taxes, which is a little bit harder to but the majority of it, or actually about half of it, is coming from the Medicare cuts. And so some of the insurance companies and some of the others that have some of the ancillary benefits or side effects of these cuts are going to be the hardest plays in order to determine from a timing standpoint. It's going to be a tough play either way. I don't quite know how to actually play it directly, but timing is a factor, and
right.
you know, everyone's going to be watching it very closely.
We will, and everybody else, as you say, will as well. Adam Connors in the city of Cleveland, Ohio, where CC Sabathia and Cliff Lee warmed up for this year's World Series. So thanks to Cleveland and thanks to Adam.
Great knowledge. Look at that.
President's proposal, as well as different from the House's version. According to the Wall Street Journal, Dodd's plan would strip the Federal Reserve and the FDIC of almost all their powers to supervise banks. Instead, a new regulator would be created to oversee all banks and monitor risk to the financial system. Dodd has been criticized for being too cozy with banks, but big banks aren't likely to necessarily like this plan.
All right, let's talk about it ourselves here in an instant audit. Adam Connors is back with us from CK Cooper. Adam out in Cleveland this morning. All right, so you get a choice here, Adam. It's A, Chris Dodd, B, Barney Frank, C, combination of the two, or D, none of the above.
Oh, you didn't even mention anything about the Yankees this segment either. I'm a little
confused.
I
might. There's still time.
The combination of the two, actually, that's the one that I'm going to opt for. You see, you know, we all expect this regulation to actually come to us, and it's from the fallout of all the issues that we saw with not only the SEC perhaps dropping the ball, but also just the ingenuity that we're seeing within the financial markets and the ones that are controlling the large institutions as well as the banks. And so we're going to see a fallout of different regulatory aspects that are no longer currently applicable to the markets that we have today. And I would guess from what Dodd is proposing as well as what Barney Frank and some of the other things that are on the Hill right now, that's what's going to ultimately be the go-forward plan, is going to be a combination of all three, actually.
Well, one of the arguments that we've heard on our set and on the Business Network in general is the question of enforcement. It's not so much who is going to regulate this industry, but what they're actually going to do about it once there's some new rules in place. So talk to us a little bit about that dynamic. Is there concern by investors that they are going to be cracked down on stricter in the future than before, or is that really not a big concern? Because, you know, as things have been done in the past, we might have new rules, but no one's really there to police it. You're
absolutely right, Jen. And that actually brings up a very good point, is that in order for the investors to do what they do, there has to be some cloak of secrecy, I would say, in order for them to maintain their competitive advantages, whether that's in trading or whatever positions they hold, et cetera. And so they're always going to be fighting for as least amount of regulation as possible. However, with the recent fall that we have seen with some of these funds and some of these other organizations that have fallen and actually created quite many victims in the over the last few months and actually a couple of years here, you're going to see a tremendous amount of change, and the enforcement will have to come. It's just going to be a matter of actually implementing it as we move forward.
Adam Connors in Cleveland, Ohio, home of the 1948 world champion Cleveland Indians. Adam,
yes,
thank
sir.
you for that. All right, we'll talk again.
Thank you.
In a little while.
Well, in the meantime, some relief for those hard hit by the recession. The Senate voting to extend unemployment benefits as well.